I'm really looking forward to this chapter because there's something that I know I can show off and I really want to do it, but it might take a couple of resets because it requires, well, okay, I'll just say this. I need Jill to activate Adept at least once, and she has to hit 3 attacks. Yeah, in fact, she has to activate Adept exactly once. She has to hit all 3 attacks, and she has to not critical. But if everything goes right, we'll be able to witness something amazing. So first thing to explain about this map is, every single square, at least if you're not a flyer, gives plus 10 avoid and plus 1 defense, so great shades of Gaiden indoor maps, unfortunately. It will mean that a lot of enemies here can be harder to hit, but it also means that you're harder to hit, and considering how insane your evasion stats are likely to be at this point, like for example, look at this. Soren has, I know it's partially due to his A support with Ike, but Soren has 110 base avoid here. So yeah, you can't hit him, you can just barely hit him, you can't hit him, you can just barely hit him. This is going to be pretty fun. Obviously, flyers are exempt. Speaking of flyers, we have a few enemy Feral 1 flyers here. We also have the boss, but I'll get to him later. We do have you. I could have sworn there was at least one. Ah, right. That's it. There's the Purge Tome. So yeah, there is a long-range tome here. It's Purge, long-range light magic. You have to get to this guy pretty quickly if you want this tome, but you'll only be able to use it if you're using Rice. We also have some Feral 1 Tigers. They're actually getting kind of strong at this point in the game, but as you can see, 24 strength is one of the highest strength stats you'll be seeing at this point, so general defense is really overkill, like I explained much earlier in the game. We also have a guy on a ballista here. That is an iron ballista, not a killer one. Oh no, stone throwers again. How terrifying. Speaking of which, we also have some actual stones here. These stones are the main map gimmick. The enemies can push them as their action for the turn. And each stone on this map has a set path that it'll roll down. Usually, if it's like here, it'll roll down the mountain path like this. And every unit caught in a rock's path will take a fixed 10 damage regardless of their defense. So, if you have someone in your army who is below 10 HP, you might want to heal them because rocks can kill you. And as I mentioned back in the previous part, rocks don't discriminate either. They damage friend and foe equally. And that's something that I'm going to be abusing here. Firstly, though, we have deployment slots this time, so I definitely want Jill and Nephany. I want Mist here. Oh yeah, something else, you won't be able to tell this yet, but cavalry units get slowed down everywhere on this map. So this is one of the few places where Mist is probably a worse healer than Rice. So yeah, that's unfortunate. Lagoos are fine, it's just cavalry. Essentially, this entire map counts as mountain terrain. Considering that we're in the mountains, that makes sense. I might actually not need Lef here. Don't need Volk at all, so I can easily kick you out. Don't want Lucia. Joffrey, I know that he'll get slowed down, but he might not be a bad idea. Let's bring back Stefan. Mordecai has smiting utility. Khalil's actually not a bad idea either. I could bring Khalil. She could actually help. And let's see, in terms of everyone else, I have Ranulph here. I guess he's okay to use. You know, to be honest, as much as I want to show off Joffrey, I will probably bring him in the next map, and Mordecai's smite utility might be useful. So, firstly though, let me just check something. Soren is good on weapons for now. Yeah, I think he's fine. And Khalil, you need to take the, go ahead and take the extra bolting. Wait, maybe that is the extra bolting. Oh no, Rayson has it, right. Yeah, so let's just go ahead and give that to you. Rayson might as well take something else, just in case we need it. Let's give him an extra physics staff. How's Mist doing on staves? Yeah, she could really use an extra physics staff. Let's go ahead and swap them over. And let's reposition. Now, Jill has to be here. That's very important. Soren will, I guess, go whichever direction Ike does, and that'll be which direction has the most axe users, which I guess is this way, because the other path will have to fight a lot of halberdiers. And speaking of axe users, you'll go there. If Soren's going this way, Khalil might as well go the other way. Gatry's gonna have problems on this map, actually. Might need Mordecai to smite. Rayson, doesn't really matter where he goes. I'm not really sure which side that I'll have Rayson take here. Might as well have you go into a position where you can fight some of these guys early. And now it's time to talk about this guy, Grommel, otherwise known as General Boltaxe. He's a meme in the Japanese fandom, and this is why. So firstly, he has a Boltaxe, which is a magical weapon, which is not exactly the best for a Wyvern Lord to be using. 16 magic is not bad, but still. 26 attack, I've seen, like, a lot of footage of Rice taking no damage from this guy. Also, he has the Resolve skill, which is normally one of the most broken skills in the game. When he's at half HP, he'll have his strength, skill, and speed multiplied by 1.5 times. Here's the slight problem. The Boltaxe is a magic weapon, so the strength multiplier does nothing. So, really, all Resolve does is make this guy harder to double. But the real reason why he's such a meme, you'll be seeing hopefully on the first turn, because this can happen on the first turn. Now, I find the best way to do this is Tanith with the Sonic Sword, but Jill can do this too. Like I said, she needs to get lucky with Adept though. And for that reason, I'm going to be saving now. And I might have to restart this quite a few times. Can you believe it's been 7 attempts and I've only triggered Adept a grand total of once across all of them? It's me, of course you can believe that. Anyway, I need Jill to go here and to equip this Tomahawk because, believe it or not, the fully forged hand axe has 1 less might exactly than I need it to have. The Tomahawk has 1 more attack power, so it'll leave the boss on just enough health for me to do what I want to do. So you get smited up here, you're going to equip that. Armored units have lower movements on these mountains as well, and I'm going to kill this top cat here, because it has more reach to get to people like Mist and Rayson. All your attacks are effectively at -1 damage here, thanks to the terrain, but, you know, you could use parity, but why would you use parity here? And against most of these enemies, it's not like 1 less damage is really going to change much. It's going to lock you in, going to have to watch out for that cat there. Yeah, everyone else should be fine. Mist will go there. Ranulph's going to go in front of Rayson because I want to tempt the boss. I want to tempt the AI into doing something specific by having as many people in this line as possible. And Khalil, I can't believe I haven't done this earlier. Take that tome. Stefan will go this way. And Rayson will stay there for now, even though it means I'll need to heal him later. So the boss will be moving second, and he has a lot of interesting special boss conversations. He has a really good one with Ike, which I'll definitely be loading for. He also has a good one with Tanith. He also has one with Ha, one with Taroniu, one with Jill, but it's not really all that great. Jill doesn't even speak in this. So I need Adept. Come on, Adept. No. Come on. Okay, this needs to hit. Thank you! Okay, I think I got it. If everything goes to plan, this will be totally worth it. Trust me. And that's worth breaking the Tomahawk for. That's fine, because I have the full guard. Thankfully, he didn't canto to the side, because he's an idiot. And here's our first rock. As you can see, boulders don't discriminate. You can probably tell where this is going. I hope Rayson doesn't get hit by 2 boulders, though. And yeah, ow. I don't have the exact paths of all the boulders memorized, but they're usually not that much of a threat. I could really do with a Fortify Staff right about now, though. Okay, that one's rolling. Come on, AI, you can do what I want you to do. So yeah, we're all pretty damaged here. As long as you make sure that your HP never goes below 10, you're fine. Please do it, please do it. You're dragging it out, enemy. You're dragging out the thing that I want to show. Actually, the boulders might be an easy way to get Nephthys into Wrath range. They're doing more damage than most of the enemies will be doing to her at this point. Okay, come on. You can do it. Come on, enemies. Like I said, they're really dragging it out. They have done it in a lot of my runs. Come on, enemies, please, please, please. I really want to show this. It's one of the best things in this game. Anyway, Nephthys should be pretty much fine here. And she's in Wrath now, which means these enemies had better watch out. Yes! No one on this earth can withstand the might of General Boltaxe unless they found his one weakness, giant boulders. Ah! And so ends the saga of the great and glorious General Boltaxe. Truly, he will be remembered as one of Daein's finest generals. So, that's the real reason why he's such a meme in the Japanese fanbase. Because really, when that can happen to you, why wouldn't you be a meme? In fact, it's actually referenced in the Cypher trading card game, so Grommel is the one minor boss to get a card to himself in the Cypher card game. And one of its actual abilities, I kid you not, is Falling Boulder. If this unit is on the front lines at the end of your turn, destroy this unit. They actually went there. I'm really surprised this guy isn't as much of a meme in the Western fandom, honestly. I feel like he deserves it a lot more than Oliver. I think this is the first time I'm seeing Gatry get Luna with a sword. Not that there was enough. Oh no! Forgot you could do that. Really? Hey, useless skill. Okay, come on. Technically, killing the boss this way is better because it means more experience. So yes, I've had to cut to a different attempt of this because something real, like I almost finished this chapter, and actually the Boltaxe is not bad on Jill. Oh yeah, that's the other reason why you don't want this guy to get killed with a rock, because then you lose the Boltaxe forever. But, I don't know, the Boltaxe is still pretty terrible, so that's not a big loss. Anyway, yeah, kind of another attempt because I almost had this chapter once. And then something incredibly stupid happened. Something that I don't even know what the chances of it happening were. They must have been pathetically small, because something ridiculous happened. And I had to redo this. And then I did the chapter again, and Soren got hit by boulders because I wasn't paying attention to his HP. So now, hopefully, I should be able to do the chapter for real this time. This chapter's been giving me a surprising amount of trouble. But at least I got to show off the amazing defeat of the great and glorious General Boltaxe. And good, I didn't miss any 90s there. So with you out of the way, I can start having Ike and Soren advance forward. And in order to prevent that thing from ever happening again, I might want to try and keep Soren adjacent to Ike. Especially once we start to get in range of the ballista. Just take out this sniper. There's honestly not that much to say about this chapter up after the boss is gone, because really it's just all about the boss memes, but in all seriousness, it's mostly just make your way up the mountain, keep everyone healed so that the boulders don't kill you, especially on the right-hand side. You want to keep everyone on the right-hand side above 30 HP at all times, because there's a group of 3 boulders up the top, and if they all get pushed on the same turn, then everyone in the thin, narrow pass is going to be taking a guaranteed, like these ones right here. So everyone in this path is going to be taking a guaranteed 30 damage. So make sure you're always above that much HP and you should be fine. But if you're not, it can cause problems. Now, Raisin's probably going to get hit by the Stone Thrower, but the Stone Throwers don't really do all that much damage. And here's the thing, as much as I really, really want to keep Nephany in Vantage Wrath range, it means she'll die to 2 boulders, so I actually need to heal her here. And Raisin's already used his movement, so I can only heal 1 person this turn, and it's gonna be Nephany because Jill, I think, is mostly safe here. The boss missed her on this attempt, so she didn't suffer massive damage from the Boltaxe. I'm just gonna go for a complete certainty here, just because. And you crit anyway, without Wrath. It almost feels like they want you to use Vantage Wrath on Largo, because this chapter is easily the easiest chapter to set up Wrath because of the fixed damage. Just so happens, though, that my Nephany has just enough HP that 2 boulders will drop her into Wrath range, but Wrath in general can help out a lot here, especially due to the +10 evasion for all the terrain, meaning that if you've got the Vantage Wrath combo on someone who has decent evasion, they're pretty much invincible. And yes, 8 damage. 8 damage on someone with the worst defense in my army. That really shows how powerful, not these Stone Throwers are. Also, that Bishop is probably going to suicide into Soren. And that's going to do nothing. Because, yeah. But yeah, that Ballista guy just has this bizarre tendency to crit in this chapter. And this boulder's path is pretty straightforward. It just goes in a straight line and turns whenever it hits a corner. And for some reason, I've always just found it really satisfying how the boulders look when they shatter against the bottom of the map. I don't know why, but here comes another one. And that's more closer to Wrath range for Nephany. You know, I wonder if Nephany and Khalil will get a B out of this. Khalil doesn't join that late, so it's not like Ranulf and Leth where they support really fast, or, Ike and someone who joins in the next chapter support stupidly fast. They technically have a B immediately after 1 chapter. That's only to compensate for the fact the game is almost over, so there's not really much time left, but also speaking of which, I believe chapter 26, which is the next chapter, is the earliest possible point to get Ike and Titania to an A, which is really saying something. No other support in the game takes that crazily long. Ike and Titania is just, it takes forever to go up. Okay, now I need to watch out for that guy. So what I might do here, actually, is do this and just have Ike. Yeah, Ike needs experience because he's going to be in a very important battle soon. Speaking of experience, I'm actually a little bit behind on experience compared to the test playthrough that I did before I recorded this. And that's probably because on the test playthrough, I didn't promote Marsha for that base conversation that will be happening later. So I had a lot more bonus experience. Now, just to be absolutely certain, smallest lapse invites death, as they say in the Grail Mercenaries. And I actually know Mordecai's fine for now. The one I really need to heal at this point is Titania, even though she's unlikely to be doing much for the rest of this chapter, honestly. Because just look at this movement. She's not going to get very far. And she can't even shove. Okay, Okay, so no boulders there, only one more boulder on this side. And Jill could... Oh, that's annoying, actually. She has the Boltaxe now. I just thought of that. Maybe, does the Boltaxe get rid of that sniper? Because I would really, really like to have... It does not, but I could potentially activate Adept. I would just really like to get rid of this ballista because it's caused me surprisingly a lot of trouble. Like, way more trouble than I ever expected that ballista to cause me. 25 attack. You have decent evasion, though. Except this boulder... Okay, yeah, I know that this boulder turns right here because you can't have the boulder rolling over a siege engine. This game doesn't really have any mechanic for destroying siege engines, but I think that means it'll just go this way, and that means it'll pass Nephany. Okay, now Purge will hurt Jill if she goes over here, but how much does this Feral 1 Tiger do? Because that's likely to be the only thing up here that can actually damage her. Well, let me just check. Well, the Warriors might be able to, so I guess I'll do a double heal here. Because again, as much as I'd like to see Nephany start using the Vantage Wrath combo, I also want to prioritize safety, especially seeing as... Speaking of safety, I don't think this boulder actually reaches... This boulder, I think, smashes around here, so Rations should be safe. But I don't want him to get killed by a boulder, because getting killed by a boulder is the no, it's probably not the second most embarrassing way to die, but it's one of the most embarrassing ways to die in Fire Emblem. But of course, the most embarrassing way to die will always be killing yourself with a Devil Axe against a wall. I mean, really, though, the most embarrassing way to die would be getting killed by the... I keep mentioning these, but they're truly legendary. The spear traps in the final paralog side quest chapter of FE6. Because you need to have really, really bad defenses to even get damaged by those. Also, thieves can disarm them, I believe. Okay, that's decent, although gaining defense there would have helped. Is that? No, you need one more point of skill to cap that. But let's just do this and go for some Adept. Even though Jill has already leveled up this chapter. Okay, no Adept there. And no Adept there. But you know, if nobody is in range of the ballista, which at the moment no one is, that might mean... Yeah, and I'd rather all of them attack Nephany than Stefan, because Stefan's actually kind of in danger from those Wyvern Riders, especially if he gets hit by a boulder as well. This is about the point in the game where Stefan starts becoming less of a... Yeah, I thought that you'd leave that ballista, but I was hoping that you'd go for Jill. Oh, okay, that's actually a shame. Normally, this guy doesn't, because he actually healed Grommel earlier. Normally, he doesn't do that because Grommel gets killed by a boulder, so... Normally, that guy ends up suiciding into Soren. Which he did not do here, sadly. I probably should have used the Javelin to kill that sniper, but... Oh well. Might need to have Jill fly back down here. Sadly, that's not going to be catching the Bishop in the radius. I think it's only just like a plus formation from where it hits. Okay, now Soren can't be critical because he's standing next to Ike, so I'm not too worried about him here. And you missed anyway. But yeah, I haven't really been able to show off critical negating bond supports very much in this playthrough, but they might help out here. Because Soren, when he's standing next to Ike, cannot be criticals. But crit guard supports are one way. Also, getting the Lagoon Slayer reminds me of something kind of fun. Well, that leaves one of the boulders unoccupied. But what I was saying is, the next chapter, chapter 26, has a whole ton of Lagoon slaying weapons that are droppable, but only on easy and normal. For some reason, they aren't on hard mode. Which is pretty strange. I don't know why they did that, but... yeah. Guess they thought, considering we're going to be fighting a lot of Lagoons in chapter 28, they must have thought, it would make things too easy to give the player a lot of Lagoon slaying weapons. Wow, all of you have left those boulders. So, speaking of exposed boulders, you can actually push them if you have a unit near a boulder, but by the time you actually get into a position where you can push the boulders, there's not much point in doing so, because all of the there won't be any enemies below you, usually, so there's not really much point. Unless you can somehow, have you kill the boss, but with a boulder, but let's be honest, it's so much funnier to have him get killed by one of his own men. A lot funnier. But maybe it was a blessing in disguise that I failed this chapter and had to restart it, because that way I actually get the Boltaxe. I forgot that you lose the Boltaxe if he dies to a boulder. It makes sense, but it's only fitting that the legendary General Boltaxe's Boltaxe will die with him. At least gets rid of the two of you. So we have to be a bit careful as we keep advancing up, but since a lot of those enemies have left the 3 boulders, I might be able to be a little more reckless on Ike and Soren's side, also more reinforcements. In fact, considering that in an earlier attempt of this they showed up in turn 5, these reinforcements must be proximity triggered rather than turn triggered. Sometimes it's hard to tell which type of reinforcements are which, but these ones must be, can't do that without moving either Ike or Soren. And I suppose I'll have Soren go for this first. Triple zeros! You're even more pathetic than I thought you were. And that's saying something. It's always fun when enemies have triple zeros. 0 hit, 0 damage, and 0 critical. And unnecessary crit here. Soren is getting his revenge for what happened to him in one of my earlier attempts. You'll be seeing that on the fail channel. I cannot believe that happened. The chances of it happening must have been incredibly low. Okay, now I might need to make sure that Nis can heal you, because these enemies could easily run back to the boulders and push them. I'm not entirely sure how the AI handles that kind of thing, because maybe they're only programmed to push the boulders if they're in their starting positions. Also, Ike is taking no damage from a Night Killer here, but I guess he does technically have +1 defense from the terrain. Still pretty funny, though. That's actually decent. That might help out if boulders get pushed onto him. Oh, and the Swordmaster over here is already dead, so I can't tell the story. So, in one of my earlier playthroughs of this game, not my practice playthrough, but and one I did earlier where I used Largo, I gave him the Vantage Wrath combo, and it was going very well, and he was destroying almost this entire side of the mountain single-handedly until that Swordmaster crit him. So, death by irony, I guess. The crit monster dies to a crit. I should probably be using a Javelin, but I doubt the Javelin will actually kill these things. There are a decent number of feral ones here, so you can get some pretty good experience. I feel like I might be able to make... I don't know if I already said this, but in my test file, I had everyone at level 16 before chapter 27. So, I might be able to make that here. Guess now I can do this. And having a lot of levels on Mist before chapter 27 is also decent, although I'm pretty sure at this point, my Mist is definitely enough to handle that chapter. She doesn't even need to be all that strong for that, or even have that much strength, but it does help for her to at least have some. Unfortunately, I don't think Khalil can get into a position to bolting any of the enemies up the top who are at risk of remanning the rocks. Which sounds kind of funny, but reminds me of that one map in Hyrule Warriors where you have to stop the Gorons from throwing boulders at your base. I like to call... this is really stupid, but I like to call failing that chapter Game Over, Return of Rocks. Alright, now the question is, who does Jill take out this turn? She's completely surrounded, and let's see. I guess she'll take out you, and then she's going to fly over and try and get rid of the Wyvern Lord, who's probably going to attack Nephany, because they are enemies who can't counterattack. Also, nice cancel it. Guard! I'm pretty sure I won't stop doing that, because come Radiant Dawn, I'm going to have to learn to call it cancel again. And I think cancel makes more sense than guard. Guard actually became a skill in Heroes that works very, very differently. That Purge Bishop can be annoying to people with low resistance like Jill, but she should be fine. And there is one more boulder on this side, but nobody's manning it, so I'm not too worried here. Guess I could go on a bit of a tangent. I'm thinking of, at this point, I'm thinking, please don't... Okay, that's only going to do 1 damage to get, yeah, so Gatry is going to be fine, even if all 3 rocks somehow hit him. But I'm going to be maybe uploading a few test recording videos soon, because... Yeah, they're ignoring the rocks, so maybe they're programmed to only push them if they're in their exact starting positions, but that is actually a lot of enemies on that side. Nephany and Jill might be getting a workout here. But I might be uploading some test videos because, like I mentioned in the last chapter, I have a new... Oh, I didn't expect you to fly back that far. Enemies with Kanto are annoying. Yes, the good news is that, that Ike and Soren don't need to worry about getting hit by these boulders. Bad news, though, is that they are not really going to get hit by much of, anything, and that's the annoyance of wind magic sucking in this game. Alright, yeah, Ike has the Sonic Sword. The reason for that is just in case Grommel got into range for me to do Ike's boss quote with him. I might want to get rid of the Sniper just in case he decides to reman the Ballista. And you've dipped below 30 HP, so in the off chance that these enemies somehow decide to attack... I probably should have traded Gatry's Vulnerary, but oh well. Armored units on mountain terrain, always annoying. It's going to get even more annoying in Radiant Dawn, because there's a map like this that thankfully doesn't have rocks, but what it does have is... Can I read Soren with Physic from it? Yes, I can. Benefits of having an enormous magic stat. Which is also why it's great if Soren can end up using Physic Staves. But there's a map like this in Radiant Dawn, and... doesn't have rocks, but what it does have is a lot of ledges that you need to traverse in order to get through the map. And Cavalry can't climb up ledges in Radiant Dawn, so Cavalry is stuck being useful for only the very beginning of that chapter, because they can't pass the first third of the map. It's pretty annoying. Okay, how much damage do you take from these? Yeah, the Tiger's really the only threat here. I should have healed Jill. Jill doesn't vulnerate her. Let's just go for this. Like I said, Jill and Nephany are going to be getting kind of a workout here. But Ike and Soren might need to be caught up in bonus experience. I do really want to make sure that I meet all of the bonus experience turn requirements in this chapter. Well, from this point on, because... yeah... I'm a little bit behind on experience. Now, if these two go here, they shouldn't need to worry about that boulder, just in case somebody decides to push it. And Stefan hasn't really done all that much in this chapter, which is... I mean, he usually does a lot more. Guess I'll try and lure the Wyvern Lord with Ranulf, even though I don't think it will actually happen. The next chapter will have a lot of opportunities for experience, though. It's a really big map with tons of enemies. It's not a route chapter, but there's a lot of enemies, a lot of reinforcements. I probably should have healed Jill, but at least that missed. I'm not really too worried if you break Purge, because, yeah, not gonna be that big of a deal, seeing as I'm not using Rice. I did use Rice in my first ever playthrough though, and Purge was kind of fun on him. If you are using him, I'd recommend getting a flyer to kill off the Purge Bishop quickly, just to grab that tome. Oh, that wasn't enough. But miss anyway. So speaking of alternate recording things, so I currently record both my live commentary and my gameplay footage off of Elgato Game Capture HD itself, but I have found out that OBS can feed through Elgato if you want it to, and that might actually be useful because on this new laptop that I have, which is, like I said, kind of a beast of a machine, I can use OBS lag-free. I've tested it on some Warhammer Total War, which admittedly isn't that much of a high-end game these days, but I was able to record that with OBS on full screen without any lag at all. So if it can handle that, it can handle most things. I tried Trails in the Sky the Third, that's totally fine. Even though I actually own the PS3 version of Trails of Cold Steel, I did buy the Steam version of Trails of Cold Steel just in case I need to record from there, because one, it might look a little better, and two, OBS might actually be a more reliable method of recording than Elgato, because I tested, well, it won't be last night for you, but it'll be last night for me. Last night for me, I tested recording some Switch games at 60 FPS and at their best quality, and despite my laptop being an absolute monster, it still caused that occasional video garbling and glitching that happens. So that's led me to believe that that has to be Elgato's fault, not my PC's fault, which is really annoying. I found some things online that might have some indication of how to fix that, but what I'm trying now is disabling flashback recording and making it so that Elgato is only ever recording when I'm pressing the record button. Because the way that Elgato actually works is that it's constantly recording, and all the record button does is setting a marker for when to split the video. But if you're on this mode, it'll only be recording when you're hitting the record button. It also massively saves on disk space, because I need to routinely dump the library files for Elgato, because, yeah, seeing as it's recording constantly, I really, really need you to die now. Let's just get rid of you. Seeing as it's recording constantly, it is constantly using up hard drive space every time it's turned on. But apparently that can also cause some of the glitching, because if it's recording one type of aspect ratio or frame rate and then you switch to a different one, what it does is it inserts a bunch of junk frames to try and keep up. Anyway, I need to experiment with that. I need to experiment with OBS to see if OBS actually is more effective at recording from Elgato HD than the native software is. And I also need to experiment with recording live commentary, because I currently do it with Elgato, and it's mostly fine, but it has this weird problem where, so the audio files that I get out of Elgato are, they're the exact same length as the video. So really what should happen is I import them both into the editor, and also this is why you want them to push down one of these boulders, because now I can't get through because there's a boulder in the way. Guess that's the one reason you'd want to push the rocks yourself. But you'd think that it would be fine, but it turns out that if I import it into my editor stretches out the audio file, and thus it gets desynced. So that's why I have to constantly keep cutting the audio and resyncing it with the video. So maybe recording with Audacity might stop that issue. The reason why I haven't recorded with Audacity before is because my old computer, Audacity was fine for me on files up to about 10 minutes. But the moment that you got more than that, Audacity would sometimes crash mid-recording. And that would obviously mean very bad things for the commentary syncing. It would completely throw the commentary off. So that's why I didn't do it. But now that I have a laptop that has much better specs, I might be able to handle running Audacity and this at the same time. So I might try that. We'll see how that goes. So I'll be doing a lot of tests going forward, just to see what my new laptop can do. It's been pretty fun playing around with Trails of Cold Steel's graphical settings because one thing that I don't know, I found funny is that when I did the launcher, it has an option called Unlimited Draw Distance. I feel like that should be said as if it's some kind of ultimate power. Unlimited Draw Distance. So that's going to be fun to play with. And I was just turning most of the high-quality graphical settings on, and it turns out that my laptop runs Trails of Cold Steel on high graphics pretty much flawlessly. No lag at all, and the fans were not even audibly whirring. My new laptop has really cool fans. They vent, like, directly out rather than being down onto the table, which is good because it means that less dust will get in them, and they just, I don't know, I really like this laptop in general. I just hope it serves me well. My laptop seems to be able to handle recording this game just perfectly fine. The fans aren't even working in the slightest, not that I can hear at least, so obviously this isn't very taxing on it. Meanwhile, Jill's being amazing. Why hasn't Adept been that good for you before? And Jill is exactly the person who I don't really need to be getting this much in the way of, experience, because next chapter I'll be using her quite a bit. Next chapter has a lot of use for flyers. Speaking of a lot of use for flyers, I'm going to have Jill do one more thing, because you need to go now. And that is the great and glorious Boltaxe, everyone. That's part of why it's no big loss to have the boss get squished by a rock and lose that. But this chapter should be over soon. Ike and Soren didn't gain as much experience as I was hoping they would. I'll need to make that with bonus experience. Speaking of bonus experience, there's actually one thing about bonus experience in this game that I haven't been able to explain yet. And I really should have explained it all the way back in chapter... Let's see. As long as Stefan gets rid of you, that should be fine. I'm just worried about him getting criticals. But Chapter 10 is the first chapter to have this. It's something about bonus experience that's different on hard mode, and it's one of the reasons why you get less experience overall on hard. But I'm kind of dumb and have forgotten to mention it right up until now. Because like I said, I'm kind of dumb. So I'll explain it on the bonus experience display. But yeah, expect to see maybe a few recording tests going up eventually. I just want to test what my new laptop is capable of. Also might need to try investing in a new editor. I really thought that I'd have Corel Video Studio by now, but after... I haven't told this story yet, but I tried to edit the first part of this playthrough in Corel Video Studio, and it was an absolute train wreck. It just, not only was it constantly failing during the editing, but whenever I tried to export the video, the footage came out as a rainbow garbled mess. And it's just, Corel has done that for me almost every time I've tried it, so I have a feeling I'm not going to be using that for an editor. Might even have to resort to the monthly fees of Adobe Premiere Pro. Anyway, that's the chapter over. And this is one of the most infamous lines in this game. The second part of this sentence was not there in the Japanese version, but I think it's pretty funny. Also, eat rock, just like our boss did, oh wait a minute. Oh no, we're all gonna take 10 damage! I wish Chipan could do that in regular gameplay. Taking out 5 enemies in a single move. So he promised that he'd come if we needed him. It's amazing to see how far Tiban has come, because he went from really hating humans to now being a really loyal ally to us. Unfortunately, we still won't be able to use him yet. Okay, so that letter was not the Black Knight's doing. We need to have all the power we can get on our side here. Yeah, Raisin's not gonna like what he has to say. Even the Lion King is here. Most of the Lagoo's royals, apart from the Backstabber, are here. And I think I just cut off the song before returning to Pirates of the Caribbean. Haven't seen you for a long time. Even longer from Ike's perspective, because he wasn't there for the whole meeting cutscene. And make allies of Bednion, the Crimean Retainers, and the Hawk Nation too. That was all thanks to Nasir, wasn't it? But he turned out to be working for both sides. Now it's time for the bad news. Miss I can understand, but not so much Soren. Soren needs to be here to hear all of this. Finally, Ike is going to spill everything to everyone. They all really need to know this. Good news to the player though, because the player already knows this information, they conveniently skip past it. Yeah, this must be very hard for Miss to hear, but... it is something she'd have to find out eventually. I think we're all confused at this point. No, it was much, much more than that. As I've said, there has been quite a bit of, well, there has been some foreshadowing as to what Ashnard's overall goals are. Namely, why he wants to release the Dark God, but in order to get his full motives, we actually need to get some of his special boss dialogue in the final chapter. You're in an RPG, of course all myths are going to be true. Unless you're in a Tales of series game. So as for the other two heroes, I don't think they mention it here, but one of them was a Lion Laguz. And some people think that he was Diginsia's ancestor and was one of the first kings of the Beast Tribe. That's actually not true. That guy, whose name is Soen, by the way, his name is not mentioned yet here, and his name's really not much of a spoiler, but they mistranslated something in Radiant Dawn. They thought it was supposed to say Soen of the Beast Tribe became the second king of Benyon, but they mistranslated it as became the second king of the Beast Tribe Laguz, which is actually not true. But anyway. Oh yeah, that thing. The other thing he keeps saying is don't move. Yeah, it seems like it's either the Song of Release or a massive war that throws the entire continent into chaos. And typical Soren saying this right in front of its ruler. Yeah, say that right in front of Valencia, Soren. Ina had already worked this out earlier. Remember all the way back in Chapter 5 when Miss said that her medallion was glowing and it had never done that before? That was around when the war started. There was a very good reason for that. Yeah, exactly what Tibon said. The war would still go on regardless. We just need to beat Ashnard quickly before disaster happens. And Raisin's about to say something that you'll want to remember for Radiant Dawn. It's not your fault. We all trusted Nasir. Well, all of us except for Soren. If anything, her not having it right now is probably a good thing. We wouldn't want Nist at the epicenter of that if it ever did happen. So this has been a long time coming, but bad news time. Exactly. And that means Leanne is in a lot of danger, because if he finds that out... If he has her sing for it and nothing happens... We need to get to her quickly. And so that's chapter over. The thing regarding bonus experience that I wanted to explain, though, is that starting with chapter 10, every chapter has something called a clear bonus. This is bonus experience that you will always get, regardless of what optional objectives you achieve, regardless of how many turns you take, but only on easy and normal. On hard or the Japan exclusive Maniac, the clear bonus doesn't exist. So the only bonus experience you'll gain is from turns to clear or other objectives. And this is particularly important later in the game because the late game chapters are worth a really large amount of clear bonus. So not having that sets you back a lot. But anyway, that's that chapter over, and I still need to record one more thing. I need to show Ike's special boss conversation with Grommel, and I also have some fail channel for you. But after that, it will be time to move on to a chapter I'm not looking forward to, as it's one that I don't find particularly interesting apart from the boss. Okay, here we'll be seeing one of Ike's best lines in the game. That's all I have to say to that. And Ike's pretty much right considering what this guy's infamous for. Sadly, it's not possible to get either with ranged swords. What? That's not even a killer ballista. What? What? Are you serious? That was an iron ballista, right? And does the sniper crit bonus even apply to siege engines? And... okay, I think he might have been out of Ike's support range, but... still, that would have been a really, really low hit rate. So for that to hit and critical without even being a killer ballista... what just happened? Yep, it's iron, it's not a killer ballista. How? How was that even... that must have been less than 10%. That must have been single-digit chances right there for that whole thing to happen, because... what is the... I'm gonna need to look up what the hit rate on iron ballistas in Path of Radiance is, because... the chances of that must have been minuscule.
Rock, pleased to meet you.